American Defender. So today, we're returning with this thing. Remember this thing? The Arrow, A8S. I kind of left you guys hanging on it about a year ago, a little over a year ago when I got it. And that's because it blew up once. The damn thing just blew apart. So I got it back together. I'm not completely finished with it, but I got it back together. I got it back to at least to where it could be operated with CO2 again. I got it at least back to where it was prior to what happened to me. This air gun almost killed me. And I'm not being facetious or dramatic. It almost killed me. I meant to do, and my intentions were to do a full series on this, because this is conceptually, it's a very cool air gun. It does more than most. Okay? The build quality overall, except in one area, and this is a design flaw with these early models like this, is stellar. Like top of the line. This is a U.S. made air gun. It's made in Connecticut by Swivel Machine. I'm incredibly, from here back, I'm happy with it. From here forward, I'm scared to death of it. All right. So let me tell you what happened. So after that video, I decided to go do a series of tests with it using high pressured air. And all the testing that I did with it, it was passing. And I'm like, okay, awesome. So now let's go ahead and take it to the range and do a video and just see how this thing does. I got the chronograph ready. I got new batteries for it. I went out, set everything up, had my Omega tank charged to 2,800 PSI. This particular air gun, right on it, says 3,000 PSI, 207 bar on it. So I'm like, okay, I'm under that, so we'll give it a whack. I'm safe, all right? And I tend to do that when I'm shooting a new air gun with high pressurized air. I kind of go under what the maximum is a little bit. And then once I find it safe, then that's when I give it the gusto like we did with everything else, okay? So up until that point in time, everything had proved out to be okay. All right. I had pressure tested it. I had shot it a couple of times without a pellet, mind you, just dry shooting it, dry firing, with 2,800 PSI, and I mean I would have no problems. So it was fine. All right. I take it out to the range. I'm getting ready to do the video, and before I do the video, I decide, okay, I better take a test shot and just see what happens. So I load a Rangemaster pellet into it and set it all up. My tank's still sitting at about 2,850, and as you can see, I've got my remote line on here. Alright, so I was doing everything remotely. I take aim. I'm on my stand with my bean bag. I've got, doing my hold and everything. And I start pulling that trigger, and then boom! It was the loudest airgun shot I have ever taken in my entire life. Had the most recoil. I mean, I might as well have just shot off, some big bore caliber hunting rifle. And everything happened so quick that I had to kind of stop and do a replay in my mind. So I stop, and I'm just sitting there frozen, and the guy next to me is looking at me like, "Are you okay?" I can hear him. He's, "You okay, buddy? You all right? Are you okay? Hey, are you?" And I'm just sitting there like, I'm just And what I had just saw was this barrel hurling through the air. By the way, it chronographed. It went through the chronograph at 515 feet per second. but hurling through the air, going through my target, hit the target, snap the damn target stand, and then right into the ground, as you can tell by the stuff here on the end. And then as I'm looking at that, I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like, what was that damn buzzing sound I heard? Because I heard a right by my ear. I'm like, what was that? And so I'm sitting there with the thing looking like this, all right? And I'm like, what was that? Holy crap. And so I fixed it since then, but there's a chunk of this high carbon steel inside liner here. This whole corner right here, it just ripped it right out, threw it back at me. And that that I heard go over my ear, that was that piece right by my head. If that had contacted me, oh, could have been bad. Could have been really, really, really bad. I might not have been here. I might be getting fed through a tube. Who knows? Okay. So I see all this and I'm like, we're done. You know. Close the Omega tank, bleed off the pressure, unhook this thing. I put it back in its box. I put it up in my closet, and I forgot I even owned it. I was so mortified. I was like, wow. I called the gentleman at Swivel Machine, and I told him what was going on and sent him pictures, which I'll put the pictures up of the damage, if I haven't done so already on the video. And he was basically like, oh, well, you know, what do you want me to do about it? You know? And I'm like, you know, it would, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know, it would be nice for you to fix the thing. Because I asked him, do you guys sell those couplers? Or can I send you this coupler and have you replace it? Or, you know, what's going on? And I explained to him the situation, how the damn thing damn near killed me. And he's like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I'm willing to do. That's it. And I was like, well, that's kind of crappy. That is kind of crappy. This air gun cost. This is probably the most expensive air gun I've ever seen in my life. You know, and I've got the SK-19 in there. It was a couple grand, and I had the LSS Texan, and I've had Zeus's, and I've had Brococks, and Day States, and FX's, and you know, this air gun right here was, with everything that, with all the features it has, it's just under $6,000. All right, I'm like, that's kind of a, it's kind of a crappy way to treat your customer, you know. I get that this gun was an early model. I get that it's from 1991. I get that, but you just charge somebody $6,000 at some point in time. You would think there'd be some kind of lifetime warranty on something that cost almost $6,000. Even if it was $3,500, you would think there'd be some, but no. Okay, so it's kind of up to me to repair the thing at that point in time. I mean, if it was me, you know, I'm a former business owner. You know, I'm not going to call myself a machinist, but I know how to work on a mill. I can weld. I can use a lathe. I can do all those things. And if I was building a product like this, and I was selling it, and there was a model of it out there that I knew that there were problems with, which he kind of admitted to me on the phone after the fact, I would have been like, when I first contacted him, I would have said, there's problems with that gun, don't shoot it. In fact, send me that coupler, and send me the barrels that go with it, and I'm going to send you the upgrades for free. I'm just going to do it. You know, any reputable airgun company would do that. For crying out loud. When I had my Gen 2 Zeus 16-inch and I was having the problems that I was having with the safety and the trigger, I let Terry know about it, and he was, boom, he was on it. I had, a couple days later, boom, there was a new trigger, a new safety, all sorts of stuff in the mail, stickers, all sorts of stuff. Big letter, here, let me know what's going on with this and tell me if this fixed the problem, and, you know. And that's AEA. That's on an AEA 16-inch Zeus. You know, that was like a sixth of what this thing cost new. It was just you know, it blows my mind. You know, if I was in that position, I would want to help. But I got a sorry or SOL. No, I'm not SOL. I'm not SOL because I've got a mind and I've got tools and I know how to do metalworking. I own a welder. I am the son of a mechanical engineer and a machinist. And I grew up around it. So no, I'm not SOL, but I'm going to fix your screw up. That's what I'm going to do now. So I've already started with it. What's the screw up? The screw up is this entire locking system on this barrel is incredibly weak and poorly designed. It wasn't well thought through. It just wasn't. Well executed? Yes. Thought through? No. So this whole thing, the way this works, okay, so you got your barrel here. This is a stub, and at the base of it, there's a camming action. All right, there's a cam right here. And this guy right here, this coupler, if you look in there, you can see it's just flat. It's just a 90 degree here. All right. There's just a flat surface there and a flat surface here. This slides in here, like so, and then you just twist it. There's no grooves, there's no nothing. What happens is the high side of this cam basically wedges up against the side here, and that's what holds it. And it only holds it in a little tiny area about 7/16 of an inch wide. The rest of the area is not making any kind of contact at all with this barrel. It's doing nothing to support it. It's doing nothing to keep it in there. You're relying 3,000 psi. You're relying on 7/16 of an inch. You're relying on a piece of steel 7/16 of an inch wide and maybe a 32nd of an inch thick. As you can see how thick that is. Maybe it's an 1/8 inch. But just that little edge at the bottom on the foot right there. That's what you're relying on to keep this in there. Just that little area right there. All right. That's it. No. That don't work. And obviously, Swivel Machine found out, yeah, that doesn't work. And they changed everything. So what I'm going to do, and I've already started, of course, I welded my piece back in. That blew out. I was able to recover it, and I welded it back in. And you can see here, I started drilling it. My bit went dull. I need to get some new drill bits. But I'm going to drill it and tap it in 3 spots. Here, 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 in a triangular pattern. I'm going to countersink the base of this shank right here. All right. I'm going to countersink it, and I'm going to put 3 grub screws, 3 grade 8 grub screws in there, so that it is captured all the way around. Not only with the cam, but with the grub screws as well. And I'm not going to just do a shallow countersinking on them. I'm going to do it fairly deep so they go down into it and get a good bite. All right. So if this thing tries to push forward ever again, the only way it's ever going to go forward again is it'll have to rip this entire piece in half. Okay. It is going to make it to where it's going to be a little bit more tedious to load, which is why they did it the way they did it here. All right. It's going to lock this to this. All right. But I'm going to have to unthread it from the gun every time I want to load it. If I can get to the breech right there. So I'm just going to poke the pellet in and then have to thread it onto here like so. Just like this every single time. All right. But I know if I do it this way, it's never going anywhere. It's never going anywhere ever again. All right. It's literally going to have to rip this whole coupler apart, or the gun right here is just going to have to rip apart. That's just all there is to it. All right. Which it won't. All right. The other thing that I'm going to be doing with it is I'm not going to be running it at 3,000 psi or even close to 3,000 psi ever again. I'm going to be running it at about 1,800. Okay. Let me take a drink here real quick. his new air guns that he makes, the new version of this air gun is rated at 2,000. So this one's rated at 3,000. The new one's rated at 2,000. And I really think this one should have been rated at 2,000 as well because of this, and actually even less. I think this should have been a CO2 only gun. This stuff all right here is fine, all right? As far as the receiver and the internals go, and the block and all of that, the bulletproof. It's all right here. This was the downside, all right? But I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. And then once I fix that and I get that operating, we're going to revisit this gun. I'm also going to be keeping my eyes out for a barrel blank in 357. And I'm going to make my own adapter in 357 that instead of having a coupler on here, it'll just have a threaded piece that is machined to fit that barrel that will just thread into place right here, all right? And take advantage of these threads like his new model is, all right? So that's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to do it. He wants $600 a barrel. I can build everything for probably less than $200. All right, so I still like the air gun. I don't like this cam setup. And so what I'm going to tell you is if you guys happen to run across one of these while you're out there and it's got this cam setup on it, be very leery of it. As a matter of fact, depending upon how much it is, unless you can get it dirt cheap, I wouldn't even buy it. All right? Because you're going to end up in this same position, and you could get hurt. You could be hurt because of it. All right? And the money these things are selling for it to just run on CO2 only, that's ridiculous. Because I have a Crosman 1077 in there. It cost me $65. It will outshoot this thing not only in speed and accuracy, but shot count as well. So, you know, that's using CO2. All right, I'm not talking high pressure air. High pressure air, this thing is a monster. I mean, again, to throw a 3.5 pound barrel 25 yards at 500 feet per second, that is nuts. I mean, that sucker was just straight out there. All I saw was this black blur flying through the air. All right. So be careful with it. We are going to revisit it. When I get everything done with it, we will test it out again. I'm going to start with CO2. We're going to start all over again with it. I'm going to have to, do some stuff with my range back there. We'll test here first with it, the preliminary testing. And then when that proves out, then we'll go ahead and revisit the range and try that again. And if we end up with another catastrophic failure, then we know the whole story with the Aero A8S. So with that, I'm going to get on out of here. Y'all take care of yourselves. God bless you. God bless America. Remember to take a kid fishing, take a kid shooting. And I will see you all on the flip. Bye now.